this is Jen and Joette from KEILY, Mira, and today we're going to be talking about seasonal inspection items. So we're getting into spring now. We're not there yet. We're still at 40 degrees today, but we do have, we're much closer to testing certain systems that we can't test other times of year. So Joette's going to start by giving us some examples of common seasonal inspection items.
The three main items that we see that tend to be problematic, especially during the winter months and even into the fall and early spring, are your central air, your pool, and your sprinkler systems. Now when it comes to central air, obviously, as you may know, you can't always turn on the central air system if it hasn't reached a certain temperature outside, which today is certainly not that day. And you want to know that your central air is going to work once the summer hits. The second item is the pool. Perhaps the pool is not open yet and you're not able to test the pumps and the lines, etc., to see if the pool is in working order. And the third one is the sprinkler systems. Perhaps your sprinkler system hasn't been de-winterized yet and you're not able to test it. So what do? There's 4 options and Jen's going to go over those for you.
So the 4 options in dealing with not being able to test these seasonal inspection items, obviously the first option would be to have the systems tested if you can. The second option would be to extend your inspection period to allow for testing those items later on in the transaction. So we'll give you an example of how that would work. If you are, today is March 22nd, let's say you're under contract to purchase a home with a pool and you're going to be closing May 1st. Right now we wouldn't be able to test the pool, but you would extend your inspection period just as to the pool. You'd resolve your other inspection items and extend the period to test the pool until, let's say, the end of April, to give yourself some time to have an inspection done of the pool if you can. Now, if you reach the end of April and it's still not possible to test that pool and you're still looking to close in May and on time, then the third option would be to have an escrow agreement done. And the escrow agreement would hold money aside. It would be the seller's funds being held aside to allow for the system to eventually be tested when it can be tested, whether it's the AC, the sprinkler, or the pool, or any other item that can't be tested.
Post-closing.
Post-closing,
right.
The money would be held aside and then it would be used once the inspection comes back. If there are repairs that are needed, then these funds can be used towards those repairs. So obviously coming into March, the end of March, it's much easier to have sellers agree to escrow agreements at this time of year because we're much closer to being able to test these items. But back in December or November, it's a much harder pill to swallow for a lot of sellers to be holding money for 6 months until a system can be tested. So we're definitely in a better position now.
Right. Sellers want to move on and put the house that they're selling behind them and start their next chapter. So it's like Jen said, they're not going to want to hold their funds in escrow for 6 months if you're closing in November and you've got a pool. But now that we're in March, coming into April, it may be a little bit easier trying to get a seller to agree just to hold their funds in escrow for 30 to 45 days so that you have the option and the opportunity to close on the property, test the system, whatever it may be, and then give them their money back if the system works.
And the fourth option, if a seller is not in agreement with the escrow, would be to get an affidavit from the seller stating that whatever the system is that can't be tested was working at the time it was last used, when it was last used, when it was last serviced, and getting any service records from the company that performed those services to make sure that it's actually functioning properly the last time that it was serviced.
So all 4 opportunities and options to resolve seasonal inspection issues are a great way to deal with these items. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Jen or myself, and stay tuned for our next video. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.